Welcome to This Could Be It, the podcast where meaning and purpose and life and death and all the foibles and fabulousness in between gets discussed and dissected. And oh man, it's a ride. Glad you're here.
Yeah. So unlike normal, I am in my basement now, which is not ideally suited for the type of, big stage podcast that you're used to, Jodi, but we're going to do the best we can. The nice thing is that you come off, looking even more professional and, on fleek, if people still say on fleek,
Bring me back.
than normal. So this is great. And I literally look like you saw me
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah.
You took my hopes and dreams and left me just crushed and said, "You're on podcast today." Yeah, that's how it's not how I feel though. This is definitely going to be the most ornery, I think.
Oh, this one's going to be very prickly and interesting. It sounds like you're judging yourself in the same way. This is going to be transition. And are you ready for it? Just in case you're not like how we judge ourselves so often about our sense of purpose. And it has to be said like that. Purpose is my purpose big enough and bad enough and amazing enough. And so, we're in this like pressure cooker in our culture of pressure. So yeah, or of purpose. Fuck.
In this pressure cooker of a culture, I'm going to jump in and guess what you're saying there.
Of purpose.
Yeah. You know what, Jodi? Normally, I'm the one who's demonstrating that you don't have to be in any way competent to be a meaning and purpose expert, but it's nice that you made a mistake for once.
Oh, see, it's my goal too. It's just to make you feel comfortable, make you feel warmed up in your bunker, make you feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel a little prickly.
Okay, let's de-prickle you. I have a really important question to ask you just to get us going. Okay, but this is like stage setting. We're talking about pressure to have purpose today. Because I don't know if anyone else feels this, but there's just a little bit of that out there. You have to have purpose. Your job has to have a purpose. You have to, yeah.
I know.
But can we just...
It's the only sign that I had any impact through my career is that now people feel pressure to have a purpose. And before they didn't even care. So that's good, right?
See, I hadn't even thought about that. You have ruined us. You single-handedly, as the world's most renowned meaning and purpose researcher, you have completely fucked us up. That's a claim to fame.
Yeah, I think if you ask ChatGPT whose fault is it, that everyone feels pressure to have purpose, and you said it's got to be a real, actual person.
Yeah.
Like you can't blame Aristotle
Yeah.
or Nietzsche.
Yeah.
I think it'll be me, unfortunately.
Okay. And then Viktor Frankl would be like just kind of wedged in there?
He was so nice. He was so nice. No one can possibly blame Viktor Frankl for anything.
Okay.
It's always...
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So conversely,
You do
you're the
feel
one to
pressure.
blame.
Yeah.
Well, because you are the meaning purpose guy, can you do us just a quick favor and untangle the two so we have our heads on straight while we talk about how this stuff is so insanity inducing?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. So this is going to be a theme of the podcast. Is every once in a while we will retreat to science to solve life's most persistent questions. And, from a scientific perspective, we're constantly still asking and we're honing in on what we think we're capturing here with this phrase, meaning in life. And maybe you have a different approach. But I'm here to tell you that approach is wrong because it's not been published in a journal no one reads. But the approach that has been published in a journal that no one reads has kind of come to the agreement that meaning in life is like an umbrella term. It captures all sorts of things that make life worth living and that help us use the time we have here in a non-ridiculous, wasteful, and absurd way. So purpose then is part of meaning in life, along with coherence and significance. I'm sure we'll unpack that later. And, so purpose is like the motivational side. Purpose is what do you want to do with your life, right? As I'm sure we all remember the video for Twisted Sisters, I Want to Rock. This is sure to have broad appeal, especially among the youth. But yeah. So exactly. So this angry dad is yelling at his little son. All the son does is sit around listening to music, and he's like, "What do you want to do with your life?" That's what purpose is. What do you want to do with your life, right? So it's
Mm.
this overarching set of objectives, goals, missions, aims, dreams that you have for your life that you want to put your effort towards. They're the highest priority. They help organize all the other stuff you're trying to do. And it can even help you prioritize choices, right? Like, do I,
Mm.
have a podcast with this strange looking man, or do I go my own, which is what you're debating right now, Jody. So this is purpose. And right. And if we're going to do anything useful with our, I think it's something like 3,000 or 5,000 Mondays that we have in our lives.
I wish we knew.
I wish we knew. Yeah, we have to have purpose, right? Because purpose pushes us through the hard times. It focuses on the stuff, on where we want to have our impact, and it keeps us driving forward towards something that's worthy of our finite number of breaths.
Mm. Felt the need to take a breath there. Um, can we have more than one purpose at the same time? Can we be juggling purpie? Is that plural purposes? Is purpie?
No, not yet. So purposes can be plural. In fact, the word purposes will always be plural. And there's no data to suggest that there is a fixed number of purposes that you can have or can't have because there's no way to know if your purpose is right. Okay, so that's maybe a little bit too spicy to come out of the gates, right? We don't really know if we have the right purpose
Thank
until
you.
we
Yeah.
die, and then we see either the devil or like, a cool angel with a giant book, I guess, is what we're expecting.
Oh, so you're even going far enough to think that there'll be like a day of reckoning at the end at pearly gates or whatnot, to
I
say
mean,
your purpose counted or not. Mm.
if not, how will we ever know?
How will we ever know?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Because I'm thinking some of this pressure that we want to unpack a little bit of today, just to, poke the bear and then get people listening more to, more of the research that, again, you are at fault for, ruining us,
that's true.
is that if there's pressure that we have to have the one way forward, well, then that's a little bit tough, right? Like finding the one career or the one partner or the one thing. Like what if I pick wrong versus I can have a purpose for this stage of my life and then I'm allowed to have it change or I'm allowed to have multiple purposes. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I think so. Like, I think it'd be an awkward purpose for you to have to, like, right now, say your purpose in life is to die with grace. I think that's not probably great right now. So yeah, so there's a lot of actual
Mm.
every good thing I'm about to say has a bad it's a bad shadow behind it, right? Because if I said, so Viktor Frankl felt like there was a purpose. There's like a U-shaped purpose hole in the universe waiting for you to fall into it like you're making snow angels, right? And so there's one purpose. You're the only thing in the universe that can fulfill it. And your job in life is to sort of, you know, eke your way towards it until
Hmm.
finally you're in there and you're doing your purpose.
Hmm.
But at the same time, he's also talking about purpose in a way that makes it really clear that that's not true, right? Because he's talking about those who had something outside of the concentration camps. Just quick spoiler alert. Viktor Frankl wrote this incredible book called Man's Search for Meaning. He was a psychiatrist in Vienna, part of Freud's, a late addition to Freud's circle, right? And some other folks, I think Adler was probably running the show by the time Frankl got there. So he's a psychiatrist trying to figure out what drives people. And he thought meaning, a will for meaning drove people. And then the Nazis take over, right? And Frankel and his entire family, Frankel was Jewish. His entire family is taken to the concentration camps. Most of them were killed there. He only saw his sister again in his entire life. And he wrote this incredible testimony, first person account of like what got people through the concentration camps. And he uses examples that kind of feel to me a little clear that purpose can be a lot of different things, right? So people who had family to find later, people who felt like there were people who would rely on them, like, so almost anything important that people felt was on the other side of this experience in the future was enough to keep them going. So already we had this tension, right? So, okay, so maybe there's a ton of different purposes. That's good news because it means if you choose one, that means you can always like add another one as a supplement. But if there's lots and lots of purposes, then, how do you decide?
Yeah.
And if there's only one purpose for you, then that sounds great because as soon as you find it, Wonderful. But what if you're not fulfilled when you think you found your one purpose in life? So that's the dark side of all this sort of stuff is that we're kind of left on our own to try and figure this out.
Yeah, scary. And
Yeah.
you're reminding me of the corporate world. There's like a mission statement,
Mhm.
and then there can be a strategy, but there's also values over there. Do you see purpose and mission as cousins intertwining? What's the story there?
Okay. First of all, in a lot of places, cousins intertwining is not so cool as you make
Yeah,
it
I mean,
sound.
you had to get visual with it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming I'm not the only one. But this is a good time to point out again that Jodi is from Canada. Lord knows what goes
Yeah.
on
It's just a
uh,
liberal cousin
across the
definition.
liberal cousin from Canada. Yeah. So yeah. I don't even know what the question was. Something about your cousin. I've never met your
Yeah, it was
cousin. How am
about
I supposed to know?
intertwining. Um, mission and purpose. Are
Yeah,
they
yeah. Mission,
synonyms?
vision, values, purpose, all these corporate things, right?
Yeah.
So almost anything that's come out of corporate probably needs to be reprogrammed to be useful for living humans,
Yeah.
because
Well
something
said.
happens in an organizational system that has a set of objectives that oftentimes is not at all inspiring,
Mm,
but wants to inspire the people who it's paying to work
mhm,
harder than the pay
mm,
actually motivates them to work, right? So, we create these, we know that people, this is a great point. We know people are motivated by mission and purpose,
mhm.
given that corporations spend a lot of money trying to have cool missions and purpose to get people to work harder, right? So
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think they'd do that if it didn't work at all.
Yeah, good point. Because I
Yeah,
was gonna touch on, yeah, like, so wait, why do we care again? Because it's not just that someone somewhere said, even with, like, a really fancy ultra Venn diagram, like Ikigai, like,
sure,
"Oh,
man.
purpose is" that we want purpose because it makes our lives better. Bullet points on the list of benefits would include what?
Living longer, if you care about that.
Isn't that okay? I've got some statisticals.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
first of all, Jodi, can you remind us, roughly speaking, how long we have to live in our lifetimes?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm glad you asked. 4,000 Mondays, give or
4,000
take.
Mondays.
In the USA, boys would get around 78 years and women would get 83 ish, 82. And that
Oh,
varies by country. So check your stats online.
mm,
So, based on this research, which is fascinating because this feels very compelling, although I don't know if anybody actually tries to say, I want to figure out my purpose so that I can live longer. Do you agree? Like it feels a little bit
mm.
um
Yeah, that's not the real
cliche.
reason to have a purpose is to live longer,
Yeah, which
right?
actually I
Because
want to okay, let's go through the stats and then I really want to get it. It's like, so why do we care? A 2002 study reported that older adults with the highest sense of purpose had a 46% lower risk of mortality over a 4-year period compared to those with the lowest scores of mortality who were just apparently dropping like flies.
yes,
I think that's the title, Dropping Like Flies
dropping
Without
like flies.
Purpose.
I'm looking this up right now.
Oh, you're such a nerd.
The citation that Google Scholar brought back is the raw microprocessor, a computational fabric for software circuits and general purpose programs.
God, I
Um,
love that study.
yeah, that's a really good one. Okay, so at least for my satisfaction, I believe you, although I don't remember a study, which is mysterious to me. So, because there have been about 20 studies now that show a longevity benefit
Mm,
for folks who have higher purpose in life or higher meaning in life.
mm,
There's lots of different ways to measure this. A lot of
mm,
times they use Carol Riff's scale of
mm,
purpose, which says there's things to look forward to tomorrow. I have lots
mm,
of activities in my daily life and I have a sense of energy. So that you would think
mm.
that people who feel that are going to live longer anyways, like I've
Yeah.
got stuff going on and I feel energy. But
Mhm.
even if you measure with the scale I did, which is like I have a clear sense of purpose, I understand my life's meaning, there's no like vim and vigor there. We still
Right.
see the advantages. So, or with other folks, like Neil Krauss has one. Like there's been quite a lot of folks who've studied these sorts of things. So
Okay.
we see this mortality advantage. I have all sorts of hypotheses about this, but we don't
Well,
want to add too much pressure for people to get purpose in life just to live longer if their lives are going to be dumb anyways, right?
if their lives are gonna be dumb.
Yeah, we don't want people to live longer lives.
So wait,
If
we need to now we
if they
have a purpose panel to be like, your purpose is worth it, and we're gonna let you live. It's just
well, no, I thought we could be a little bit more ambitious than that and like help them understand that there's other things they might want a purpose for than
then
just
for living
living
longer.
longer.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Yeah.
allow me. I'm gonna give one more little tranche of science before everybody falls asleep, and then you're gonna wake us up. Um,
Yeah.
People with the highest purpose scores are 24% less likely to become physically inactive, 33% less likely to develop sleep problems, and 22% less likely to develop an unhealthy BMI, body mass index. And people with higher purpose scores perform better on tests of memory, verbal fluency, and executive function. And people with purpose age slower biologically. So recent studies show people. I'm just going to keep reading. Don't worry, I'm going to read for like 79 more minutes, and then I swear I'll stop.
Telomeres. I
Recent
sense
studies
telomeres are coming.
show that people with higher purpose scores show reduced epigenetic aging, which is indicative of slower cellular aging. And I think you're right. So that's just all like there's our data dump. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and
there's better reasons.
you can
Hmm?
add 1,000 more data points to that. Like you have like older adults with purpose and meaning have stronger grip strength, which is a general indicator of physical health, right? They have, there's been studies of HIV positive men who have higher levels of killer T cells and CD4 cells, right? So you see the immune systems function better. You see lower levels of inflammatory cytokines, right? Like interleukin 4 and interleukin 8R and all these sorts of things. And S interleukin 4R or something.
I
There's a
think
million
it's
of them.
4L.
Oh
Just
no. Oh no. Oh no. Don't even try
uh,
that. I know the first part. I just can't remember the second part of these interleukins. It's like,
it,
yeah, these are important. These are
I
important.
want I want a better grip strength. So I need to really nail down my
You
purpose
gotta
is
get your
what I'm
purpose
hearing.
first. Then you get the hand squeezers that rock climbers use. First purpose, then hand squeezers for grip strength. Um, Yeah, like the list goes on and on and on and on, right? Like the benefits of having a purpose for health are actually pretty profound. And we're talking dozens and dozens and dozens of studies which have replicated in different countries, different age groups. So we don't have to overthink this one.
Hmm.
It's just good for us. It's just good for us. So then people hear that and they're like, I want to be able to squeeze things hard when I'm 90 as well, like I don't want to be like the old person who can't,
I want to
I don't
open a
know,
jar.
squeeze those little screaming stress guys who go like this, "Ah," like one of those guys.
Yeah.
Jars? No, those that stops happening at age 60. You can't open a jar after age 60. That's been proven. Yeah, so but also there are benefits that don't show up in health, right? Do you believe that? Have
I
you seen this?
I've seen this, and I also see because I think all the stuff you're talking about gets diluted, and maybe it's alluded to in someone's article about purpose. But I think that it's this like a social pressure that is created about why we need. And so it might be linked to what you're about to tell us about the non physiological benefits of purpose. Unleash the hounds, go.
Yeah, well, I want us to think about that whatever study that is, 2002, Kim et al. I think actually I've seen some of those percentages, and I feel like it's from a 2022 paper, but I'm just being belligerent right now because my hair was causing me problems earlier
Well,
today.
I meant 22 was out. 22 was.
Oh,
Did
you
I
said
say O two?
2002. That's what threw me off.
Oh,
Okay,
I'm so sorry. I meant
okay,
2022.
yeah,
Yeah. So now it all checks out.
let's check
You're like
out.
Kim wasn't born yet.
I mean, he was born, but I don't think he started grad school.
Okay.
But Eric Kim's quite fantastic. Um, yeah. So if we think about those studies, a lot of the data was getting collected in the 1990s, early 2000s on people who are over age 65 already, right? So those people didn't grow up in a world where when you went to school, you're supposed to have purpose. And yet somehow when they called them up as in part of, I think some of those data are from the health and retirement study, some of those data are from the midlife in the United States study, some of those, there's also large panel studies out of Canada. Someone calls them up and says, does your life have meaning and purpose? Or some other question. And even though they didn't grow up in a society where they felt pressure to have purpose, they were able to say, yes, my life has purpose. And then they live longer from that point on. Right. So we don't need to, I'm going to caveat that we don't
Mm,
need to be throwing in people's faces, you
mm,
must have purpose, you must have purpose, because people find it anyways. Right.
mm.
This sample of people was around for 60, 70 years before this. I need youth today feel so much pressure, so there's a little bit of that, right?
That's interesting.
One of the big things that's happened, though, that makes us feel a lot of pressure is the explosion of a science-driven well-being industry,
That Yeah, the
right?
self-help industry, and in other words?
Well, we had this self-help industry, but it was like based on, it would rip off a few ideas from psychotherapy.
Mm,
And then someone would
mm,
tell a fancy story about some
mm.
vision they had when they had an out-of-body experience, or they'd be like, if you meditate enough. It was all the same sort of stuff. It was like just different people recycling their own autobiographical experiences with happiness. And like, well, I remember the time when I went to, it's like Eat, Pray, Love, not to pick on that too much, but in Eat, Pray, Love, I only saw the movie. Julie Roberts goes to Italy and teaches the Italians how to be happy. Then she goes to India and teaches the Indians how to be happy. And then she goes to Bali and teaches the Balinesians how to be happy. It's like, like before those. No, that's just like that's her experience. And I think Elizabeth Gilbert is having quite different experiences now. If the book reviews I've read are anything to go on, right? So they tend to be very autobiographical, or based on the therapy clinic people were running. And then in the 2000s, like we really started cranking out data about meaning or satisfaction with life or positive emotions or gratitude or forgiveness or grit or a million different things, right? Self compassion. And I think that's when, once those books were hitting the bestseller list, and that, every publisher probably wanted you to lead with, you will live longer if you buy this book, right? And you'll definitely die if you don't buy this book. So people are like working in all these like high pressure things, and they're saying like, yeah, you'll earn, there's a 10% income, lifetime income benefit for being happy or having meaning in your life or whatever. So I think it was actually the
Mm,
political culprits,
hmm,
consumer society,
mm.
co-opted, oftentimes with a lot of excited complicity, folks who wanted to peddle their happiness.
Interesting.
Science, including myself. I mean, yeah.
Can I ask you a question? You are on the research side initially, where people were taking your research and using that in a pop culture way to
Yeah.
add
Did
to
I
the
make any
pressure.
money off that? No. No.
No, not a
You
fucking
didn't.
penny. You are writing a book now that is gonna be more for the masses, not for the textbooks. Is there tension for you about giving accurate information, but also extolling the virtues of meaning and purpose?
Yeah. Is there tension for me between in this book I'm writing right now, between hewing only to the science
Mhm.
and extolling the virtues of purpose? Well, I don't think that much of a tension actually, because the benefits of purpose, if you spend enough time on the science, you're finding studies that make you feel pretty darn confident that you're not making something up.
Mm.
I mean, there's not other than the book, there isn't that much to sell. I don't have I don't have a product, I don't
Potion.
have an app, all these sorts of things. Maybe I will, maybe I will by the time. I don't have a robot. I don't have a purpose robot you can buy,
I guess I
although,
wonder what you've been doing.
yeah, we're working on that. We're working on the
Okay.
robot side of this business.
Okay. But
But
there's
yeah,
not but it seems to it aligns for you. You're not
yeah, I don't like to
headline.
oversell it, but you have to express every once in a while you have to express what the research points to without a layer of caveats and exceptions and it depends and probabilistic language, right? You just
Mm.
have to express things clearly,
Mm.
I think, in a book that's meant for people who don't constantly read
Yeah.
journal articles where everything is couched in probabilistic
Yeah.
terms and has been bludgeoned into, passive voice by peer review, right?
Yeah.
So,
You said something a minute ago that's interesting. Just one thing a minute ago that was interesting.
yeah, I probably stole that from that famous Kim 2002 article.
The idea that people seem to naturally have purpose
Hmm.
and that they were caught unawares by just asked randomly. And they're like, oh, I do, in fact, have it. And then nowadays, it's like shining a spotlight on it maybe makes it seem like it's more gaping and problematic, kind of like happiness.
Yeah.
that I was happy until I started trying to be happy because everyone said I needed to try to be happier. And so it's interesting that left to our own devices, we will find a sense of purpose in what we do. And
Yeah, I
do we
think we
need to
do.
craft it even tighter?
Well, what do you think? Like, you've known human beings at
Uh,
various times. I
yeah,
mean, like,
yeah.
did they seem fine 20 years ago? Do you remember humans 20 years ago?
I was one and I do remember them then. And
Nice.
I think we've always struggled. And I think that the increase, so back to when I used to do executive coaching, the word purpose would be like this instant anxiety inducer for people because it was then riddled. And again, I'm not going to compare it because I didn't executive coach 25 years ago, but I would say it's just as laced in terms of angst with like reaching your potential. You know, this feeling. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole other topic. But this idea of purpose, it's like, am I doing something significant enough? And part of it is about judgment, right? That someone's going to
Yeah.
see that my volunteer thing isn't as juicy as yours. And like, I'm not starting a nonprofit that's going to save this country, XYZ. Or so I think it's like a comparison issue, which may just be like everything these days, a little bit inflamed with social media. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's right. Do I have a good enough purpose?
Hmm.
I do not mean this to be derogatory at all, but I do think that most of the time when people have been asked, do you have purpose? And if they're not freaking out, they're like, yeah, I've got purpose. They're probably talking about a purpose that's pretty common.
Hmm.
It's like a shared experience, right? Like the purpose could be, um, purpose is family, or purpose is just being a good person, or purpose is serving God, or, following the rules of my religion,
Hmm.
right? And so, or it was just like, I just know there's a purpose because the deity has a plan. There's some sort of system out there. I'm part of that, so obviously I have a purpose. Like
Okay.
I kind of have this hunch because when I got started in this in about 2002, I was starting to collect data, and I would ask people about meaning and purpose. And the more you ask them, the more upset they got.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think that's the dynamic we have now. Like you're talking with executive coaching. These are like high achiever people, right? They in some ways think of themselves as a bit exceptional,
Hmm.
right? They're not they're not part of a herd of sheep or whatever sheep cluster in. They're like the leaders of something. So they feel probably like they're supposed to have a better grip on these big things, So at one point there were philosophers, theologians, important people who could talk about purpose, civil rights activists, political leaders, like the people on the big stage oftentimes could talk about purpose, or someone would ghost write a book where that was a feature, right? But then something happened when we started, I think, when we started studying all this sort of stuff, is
Yeah.
that the sort of out of the box, absorbed, inherited, regular person purposes didn't seem good enough.
Uh, yeah. Okay. Needed to be shiny and special. And what you
Personalized.
just made me think of this executive persona, the successful person, seemingly. What happens when what was working is no longer like they become disenchanted with their career or company or people or their mission at hand? And that's, I find, what falters people. It's that this was cutting it for me, but it's not anymore. And so, does that mean that our purpose expired? We naturally grew out of it, and we should just anticipate that and be cool with it and say, "Oh, honey, now go find a new one." Because I think people get stressed when it's I was working as a CMO and now I need to find my purpose because I'm just not happy. It's just not doing, I'm not fulfilled anymore.
Yeah. What does the M stand for in CMO? I should know this, right?
Oh, yeah. So
Monkeys?
I was trying to come up with something funny, but it completely gapped me. Marketing.
That is funny though. So it's funny that I don't know half the things that I should know. That's
Yeah.
funny. Um, So I'm fascinated by this because I think this is really this is a space that this podcast will get into, obviously. What happens when you've been doing something, succeeding, achieving, getting to the top of stuff, and suddenly it doesn't feel like it fits anymore. Or
Yeah.
it feels like you could keep doing it, but you don't know which direction you're going in or whether that's a reasonable direction to go. I think there's a lot to be said about um the Wile E. Coyote experience of all this, like the Looney Tunes cartoons, Wile E. Coyote's running after the Roadrunner. Roadrunner steps aside. Wile E. Coyote's like shooting off the edge of the cliff,
Mm.
running, 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 totally doing fine. Looks down, goes like this, drops like a rock, right? There's a little bit of that about modern life, I think. We are running. We have no idea what it's the rat race, right?
Mm.
We don't even know why are we doing half the things we're doing? Why do we have half of the goals in our lives? I was watching someone give a talk just recently at a Purpose and Flourishing conference hosted by the Stern School of Management at New York University. And, someone was talking about the role of wealth. Like, how does wealth figure into these like elite business school students? And one of the people was like, I have a goal. I need enough wealth so that I can have a helipad for each of my children.
This wasn't a joke.
This wasn't a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a joke, a cosmic joke, but those are rarely funny. So this was like someone who really felt that. And like, why? Like, why would you choose that? I don't know how you'd even achieve it unless you just have a lot of paint and like start painting high school parking lots with H's
Yeah.
or something. But like that as a goal,
Mm.
I think a lot of people would feel like they'd made it if they could do that.
Mm.
More than one helicopter landing pad.
Mhm.
That's amazing, right? But I do think that there's a lot of that, like Wile E. Coyote just running as fast
Mhm.
as you can. Don't look down. Don't question what you're
Mhm.
doing. But once you
Mhm.
start to question it,
Yeah.
that's where we run into the other problem that we have, right? Once we go outside of the box of the purposes and the meanings and the values and the visions and whatever these things, missions that we inherit just by being people and hearing other people talk and being told what to do all our lives, all this sort of stuff. Once we run out of like those or we look down, we realize we never developed the skills to figure it out for ourselves in the first place. And that's where I think a lot of the pressure to find purpose comes from is like, we're supposed to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
No one ever taught us how.
Right. Like the idea of the soul searching, the self-awareness, the really stopping and saying, if you separate yourself from what your friends or the pack or the herd or the whatnot,
Yeah.
what do you really want? What would it be? And I've been so inspired by people who have stopped back again in the coaching realm of imagine for a second that none of that stuff mattered. And the realization of so many of the purposes that people would land on were impressively unimpressive. Like, back to what you were saying about back in the olden days when it was just something that was simpler, and it was more granular than just, being a good person. This was like one woman I remember distinctly because she was just obscenely successful, and she had this pressure to come up with something next and have this purpose, and she just landed on something beautiful.
Mhm.
I sound like I'm judging it, but it was beautiful for her, and I just happened to think it was. That it was like her purpose for this next phase was to just be the bright spot in people's days so that she could like be a beacon, and she was going to impart that within different domains of her life, with work and with family that was troubled and so on. That for her felt like it was a way of being. And so um actually, as I'm saying this, I feel the need to pressure test it with you. Does that sound like like an example of a purpose, or would you call that something different?
Well, as we all know, that's also my purpose is to be the ray of warm sunshine in other people's lives.
Oh, I guess I missed that.
I thought I was doing pretty well. Um, yeah, I like that. So a purpose has a few characteristics and ideally a lot of robustness against other people's judgment, just
Mm.
like you've intimated, right? So, okay, so purpose needs to be able to go for a long time. You might not ever be able to finish it, right? Like, so there's not like a goal that you're going to check it off. Yeah, I was a bright spot in every single person's life. Like
Mhm. Good luck. Yeah.
from my Zeppelin, I was just beaming, beatific smiles down at the people, and now I'm done, right? Like, that's not what this person means. This person means that when there's an opportunity, that's how she wants to be present in people's lives. And there's probably a reason behind it. People need some encouragement. You need a little bit of a sense that there is niceness out there as well as, bony elbows, jostling
Mhm.
us at ribs. It needs to be consistent with who we are, right? Living someone else's purpose means we're not really living purpose anyways.
Mhm.
We're not even living our lives if we're living for someone else's purpose,
Mm.
right? Which is why some of us maybe should just keep doing what we're doing and stop listening right now because, once you start to think like, am I living my life or am I living someone else's life?
Mhm.
And then someone like me says, if you're not living your life, you're not even living anybody's life, right? Like, or if you're living someone else's life, all that sort of stuff, right? Like the authenticity piece is big. So if this person feels like that's authentic, this is what she's good at, what she cares about, she's responsive to the world around her. So the purpose she's pursuing has some kind of, impact. It matters in some way beyond herself.
Yeah.
Ticks all the boxes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for giving us the breakdown. Uh, they say that 1 in 4 people say they don't have a clear sense of purpose. Does that track with your research?
Yeah. Unless you ask the three quarters to give you their clear sense of purpose, and then more people say they don't have a clear sense of purpose.
Right.
It's hard to
Okay.
be confident in this stuff, right? Because who's to know?
Yeah.
Like when you look at the Milky Way glimmering above your head, like what up there is telling you you're right about your purpose?
Mhm.
This is why I think having a process or a system ends up being so vital, right?
Yeah.
Because maybe we're not always, I mean, a lot of times in order to be sure, we just get hard-headed, right?
Okay, question. You work with people one-on-one. You've an advisory service where you help people figure out meaning slash purpose. Forgive me for conflating the two. But
Forgiven
thank you.
again,
Uh,
again.
what, so you have a process in a way, not that you need to spill all the beans here, but I guess aside, maybe even process aside, like what do people gain when they do sit and go, ah, I got one. Was
Yeah.
it there all along?
Oh, those are 2 really different questions, right?
Mm, yeah.
So, the seeds are there all along,
Mm,
but we don't always know how to access them, right? I think especially like high achievement people, and
mhm,
you've known these folks, like you were executive coach for a long time, get so good at things, get so good at doing things. Other people expect them to be able to do things, then they are able to do them. Someone says, well, here's an even harder thing for you to try to do. And I'm like, I did that too. Like I'm a doer, I'm a accomplisher, I'm an achiever. I figure things out, I create big systems, I make big splashes, and that's what I do. But the why, the personal connection to that kind of a life, the other dreams that were kind of buried under performance, even if that performance is satisfying, there's a lot of things we do that are satisfying that aren't a purpose in our life. Right?
yeah, yeah,
Part of the issue of whether it's been there all along is that all of us have a lot of different things that we could do, depending on what parts of ourselves we want to give the most sun and water and earth to and air. Right? We could do a lot of different things, especially especially people who are good enough at something that people keep wanting to ask them to do stuff, which is actually a lot of people, right? So most people are asked to do things from time to time. Almost no one has no potential to do a bunch of different things. Like I've never met anyone really who barely can only do one thing. Like that's impossible, right? So it's a matter of choice. And then how do we choose things that create a life that we feel deeply, deeply connected to and
mhm,
that expresses something that's really profound within us. And that's
mm,
not always a very quick thing to do.
hmm,
So like one of the first things that I try to do is just, what does it feel like to look out at your life from inside your head, right? Like when you're looking around, what are you seeing? What's stands out to you? What? what's down some of the roads that, well, you love this one too. Like, what's down some of the roads you never followed, right? Like,
Mm,
what kinds of things have you left undone that are like screaming to you, Just take a few steps down here. You'll like what you see," right? So, there's a process that you go into without
mm,
feeling like you have a right answer in terms of exactly what's supposed to happen, but like
yeah.
learning the perspectives, learning to listen to yourself, learning how to talk about all this stuff with someone else who
Mm,
expects you to be a kind of different kind of person. That's another big piece that I think people sometimes overlook. Like, okay, I'm a high achiever. I'm crushing everything I do. And then I decide I want to be the source of sunshine in someone else's life. And you have to
mm,
explain that to your partner. You have to explain that to your boss, your kids, your team, your neighbors, the people at the yacht polo club where people play yacht polo, which is what I do
mhm.
on weekends here in Colorado, right? So like, how do you explain that without retreating is another
Yeah.
thing.
Well, that brings up the notion that we feel like we have to advertise it. And sometimes it is a very distinct private thing. So this example of the woman who wanted to be the bright spot, it was like that was an internal little for her to know and not
Was that
necessarily
the Pillsbury Doughboy? Was that the sound you're making? Sorry.
a lot of cinnamon buns were made in the process of coming up with that purpose. She knew she was like, "This is my special thing," and in that case, it didn't even need to be advertised. If it's an actual profession and then actual taking the yacht and turning it and moving it in another direction, well, that's can be apparent. And I guess in most cases, your purpose is something that's outwardly observed, right?
Yeah, you have to do something with purposes, right? This is something I know about you, Jodi. Don't ever
Do,
think it.
do,
Don't think
do.
do. Do or do not. There is no think. That's your
Um,
famous saying. Yeah, right. So if you're gonna have a purpose, it can't just be like a motto. It can't just be an inspirational poster in an elevator somewhere. You
yeah.
have to actually do it. So then it should show up in your life. It should show up in your life.
How long does it take typically for people when they work with you to come up with what their purpose is?
Seconds.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
just like,
So it's like an
purpose,
instant.
go.
Okay.
No. Yeah, totally, totally all over the place.
Hmm. Was there a time when you struggled finding your purpose?
I think I still am confused about how well I'm articulating my purpose, right? Because
Mhm.
I kind of feel like there's a lot of things, a
Mhm.
lot of things. And one of the pieces of purpose that makes us doubt whether we have a purpose, as I'm
Mhm.
exhibiting right now, is that some of our purposes tug us in different directions. You
Like
know what I
what?
mean?
Like, what do you mean?
So I wanted to, do something impactful with my work life. I also wanted to be a good dad. Okay. So sometimes doing something impactful
Mhm.
my work life means going to Sydney, Australia, where you lose an entire day. It just disappears. I used to think that would be like the perfect alibi. Like if I leave on the 13th and land on the 15th and like somehow committed a murder on the 14th, they're like, the murder took place on the 14th. And like, I didn't even have a 14th, idiot. But
Right.
of course, because I didn't have a 14th, makes it hard to do a murder on that day. Anyway, so like
I like, by the
I
way, how
spent
you put thought into alibis. There's like a whole
I
there's like a
spent
journal entry, like possible alibis.
every time I take a flight across international date line, I'm like, is there any way I can use it to my advantage
Who could
and
I
get away with
murder?
something?
First
Not
question. Okay, keep
murder. I
going.
mean,
Yeah.
that just seems like dumb. Murder's dumb. Murder
Not a
is
good
no.
purpose.
That's
Don't make murder your purpose.
our next swag. This could be it. Murder is dumb. But I don't know. You're obsessed with jewel heists. Maybe I could do a jewel heist somehow on the 14th, and then I'm flying on the 13th, land on the 15th. I'm like, sorry, Clouseau, Inspector Clouseau. There was no 14th for
Exactly.
me.
I was an Air
Mhm.
Singapore or whatnot.
Yeah. What were we talking about before the flying? Oh
The
yeah.
the the
So if I'm in,
tension of competing
yeah.
purposes. Mhm.
Imagine though, if my child's birthday was the 14th,
Mhm.
and I want to one of my purposes is to be a good dad, and other purposes
Mhm.
to be, trying to make an impact with this stuff I'm
Mhm.
going to dedicate my time and effort to.
Mhm.
And one, the work one means I don't even exist on my child's
Mhm.
own birthday. That hasn't
Mhm.
that hasn't happened yet, but that's actually kind of wacky to think about. Right? So they're tugging in different directions.
Mhm.
Or I want to experience everything in the world. Everything in the world. You can't, right? Automatically, that means choices because there's not enough time. I don't have enough resources. Um, whatever age I am, there's probably
Mm,
things I'm already not fit enough to do, or don't have time to learn the skills to do, right? So, yeah, there's a lot of saying no and seeing that this is just not in the cards after a certain point. But the fact that that you can have like sincere purposes that pull you in different directions also makes us feel like, well, then maybe neither of them is a real purpose, or whichever one I choose is a purpose and the other one's not, all that sort
mm,
of stuff. So, like, clearing up the fact that, yeah, our purposes can conflict.
mhm.
And then that's just how that is. It's not going to
Right.
be a fully satisfying, settled, it's not settled law, right? Like it's still being debated in your own life, like which is going to be the center of gravity at a given time.
Yeah, just a juggling trade-offs all the time. Yeah. Mhm. To
Do you
what
buy
extent
that? Do you buy
do
that,
I
Joe?
buy that?
Yeah.
Totally.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, because I look at that too. I've always used the language around that as with values, that you could value achievement, you could value family time, and then same thing,
Yeah.
they're gonna butt up against each other. And the dance, I guess, of prioritizing. But I guess back to this notion of people feeling like they don't have the right a purpose or the right purpose or a big enough. To what extent does purpose have to overlap with vocation, if at all? Because I have an opinion on this one too.
Oh, good. So you're setting me up to be wrong again. Yeah. So I think it depends.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. The classic hedge. Oh, well, honestly, though, I think, okay. So now in your 4,000 Mondays, I have calculated recently,
Mhm.
how many of those represent a work week in a
Hmm.
typical adult's life,
Mhm.
right? I've
Okay.
also worked out how many of those weeks of our lives are spent in the bathroom.
Fascinating.
Yes, I've worked out how many of those weeks are spent slowly dying at the end of our lives, right? Sleeping, commuting,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
know, and we're still left with some time. Don't worry. But I guess this is a preview. I don't know if this will make it to the final version of the book I'm writing, but it's something like in a typical life of the non-sleeping, non-pooping, non-commuting, non-slowly dying and receiving medical care weeks, work will still take up like 476 of your Mondays,
Mm.
right? And so then people oftentimes say, and isn't it sad that, isn't that just sad? Like no one ever said on their deathbed, I wish I spent more time at the office. I like to flip that around a little bit. Like, that's fantastic. Someone's going to pay you 476 weeks of your life to do your purpose, right? So, work week is a terrible thing to waste, is my new motto for
Mm.
this, right? So,
Mm.
why not see if you can hook it into your work since you got to do it anyways, unless you're truly in the yacht polo club, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, got to do it anyways. Might as well figure it out.
Mm. Well, that figure it out, that's the part that I think sounds easier than it is. Because I
Oh.
think and I guess just to
Was this your opinion that you wanted to, 'cause I don't want to skip past, you have an opinion on this. So,
sure, sure, yeah, well, I'm slowly, picking it now to check on, like, is your perspective, your work now and your passion overlap on a Venn diagram for Mike Steger?
they do. They
Perfect,
do.
yeah, okay.
I wouldn't say that my job overlaps necessarily with what's meaningful to me all the time. In fact, a lot of times it doesn't, but my overall career does. Yeah. I chose my career to be me and live
Mm.
my life, right? Like that was the primary thing that shaped what I study, as
Mhm,
you talked about before. How
mhm,
about you?
cool. Well, I come from a place now where I've made and helped I have an absolute nice alignment with the work I do, feeling like it's the purpose I want for now, subject to change. I like to think that and come back to that, the degree to which we just want to take a swerve. But I think that the trouble can emerge when people are not in a role that feels right, like back to the CMO example from before of, "Oh, this isn't cutting it for me anymore. It used to be a challenge, or I used to like I hate this environment or my boss or the work or whatever it is." And then this idea, do the work you love and you'll never work a day again in your life, that idea, and that your job does need to be purposeful. That also means that it needs to, in some way, check a box that society has about whether it is a good kind of thing. Like, is it a B Corp? Is it the right kind of thing that other people would say, wow, that's doing good in the world or whatever? So I think there's undue pressure for work to be the source and home and place where you're going to find your purpose and meaning and also just total satisfaction. And I think it's set us up for a lot of disappointment because there are only so many maybe of those cool jobs that, or a job for you that is you can find if your passion for some reason is all about sea turtles. Well, maybe there are only so many sea turtle jobs out there that you can get. So I have a philosophy, I suppose, which is don't not like your job. Don't, still try and find a way and maybe it will eventually align with purpose, but maybe seek it out perhaps outside of the bounds of work if it's not already there, and then watch it maybe even funny enough emerge in work because maybe you've changed in a way. If you've been finding, meaning and vitality outside of work. So that's the story I'm sticking to.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
take off work.
Yeah. I think that's great because, like that, there is a whole research field on job crafting, using your strengths at work, aligning your values, things like that, right? That if you can't find the perfect job title or you can't, launch your own business or you need to do things on the side as you're launching a business and it's
Mhm,
making you feel strung out.
mhm,
Um, or you launch a business and it kind of crashes a little bit because people aren't ready for it or whatever the issue is.
mhm.
There's still ways that you can use the time wisely in your working day. I think that would be the thing. And you can use your time wisely by bringing who you are, or maybe looking for those, glimmers of when it's going to really, be a good thing, even if it's not like the job title.
Is it true that purpose increases as we age? A sense of it?
This is more complicated than it looks, this particular question. So it depends on which measure you use. Measures that emphasize having lots of things to do and look forward to tend not to increase that much
Okay,
towards the very end of life.
okay.
But what is interesting is that even among folks who are quite old, right, where we might think, surely they don't have a huge agenda for the rest of their life. Well, one surprise is they seem to. They say their life has a purpose. It just might
Mm.
look different, right? My life might be to, at that point, leave a good set of memories that my grandchildren can use as inspiration or to make them feel like they were part of a family or have some heritage or something like that, right? Like there's a lot of things we can do that aren't getting shit done at the end of life. And the research also shows that and it kind of does seem to increase. It'll be interesting to see, like, once we start digesting a few different things, right? We have to digest the fact that we do feel a ton of pressure now to have purpose, and we didn't used to.
Mhm.
It was nice to have, but maybe it wasn't even for everybody. Or if we had one, again, it was like out of the box. It was like do good religion stuff right? For a lot of
Yeah, yeah,
people,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But now we have this like you got to figure it out yourself, which is hard. There are advantages if you can do it. So I don't want to say don't try, but it is hard, harder than never thinking about it. But once you start thinking about it, it's hard to convince yourself that it doesn't matter, which is an accidental feature of a podcast like this. But like we're also hopefully filling in the gaps a little bit on
Mm,
how to work this system out.
mhm.
But another thing we hardly have touched on at all today, and we don't really have time to get into it. But we'll keep touching on it. Is the fact that the modern world is pretty difficult to find purpose in right now.
Mm.
Right? Like there's
Mm.
there's features of the modern world that make it harder and harder to have a purpose. If only because purpose implies we're going to do something familiar for a period of time and so little in the world seems like it's going to be familiar to us for an extended period of time. So only for that, even if we didn't do social media, even if we didn't, need to buy a sex bot or didn't need to figure out how to have AI agents book our next vacation, whatever it might be, right? Even without that sort of stuff, the world is changing a lot and we're hearing about it. And so it's hard
Yeah.
to it's hard to see sometimes how our purpose is going to move
Hmm.
into that future world when we don't even know what that future world's going to look like. It's all just gray fog.
Gray fog. Interesting. Makes me think maybe a guaranteed purpose that would last for a while would be to be the creator of sex bots.
That's guaranteed. That's
It's like it
guaranteed.
has some
Um,
legs of an
yes, we'd
limb.
really
Yeah.
encourage people to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then to sponsor us. Why not? Right?
That feels right.
That
Okay.
feels right.
So would you rather have a consistent, one clear life purpose you must follow forever? Or would you rather have one that changes every 5 years and evolves as life changes and you change and you get to switcheroo every 5 years?
Yeah. For me, I want the purpose toolkit, right? One that's adjusting all the time. Yeah, can sort of figure things out as things change, things pop up. I know how to use that system. Sometimes it's harder than it is at other times, but things can rock my life, and I'm ready to process and renavigate. Yeah, but some people who have like these superpower carved in stone purposes, that purpose meets all challenges, and it's like those waves, those pictures of the waves on that lighthouse, right? The lighthouse is still there. The waves are like, "Pachow," and the lighthouse is
Yeah.
like,
Fine.
"Nice try, loser."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if that lighthouse goes, that's
Mhm.
that's yeah, that's scary.
Mhm.
But a lot of people just power through wave after wave. No big whoop. How about
Mhm.
you?
Mhm. I like variety, so I like the idea of the stints,
Mm.
purpose stints. I think there's gonna be a through line, right? There has been so far in life, and it
I
hasn't
think there's gonna be. I'll make one up someday. Is that what you're
Yeah.
implying?
When I'm at the end in hospice doing that life review, I will find a way to narrate it as being related, but, uh yeah, I think that there's consistency with, in some way making life better in some way for other people. Certainly not trying to make it worse, but the specifics around it, I like that. I like that changing, and I like the idea of you having a toolkit.
Yeah.
And uh, I want more people to take advantage of that.
Yeah. I mean, do you think we've solved it? We've solved the purpose crisis because people will just do what we just said there, what you just said?
Well, I think if it involves, yes, getting into sex bots, and yes, just knowing that if you find a purpose, it'll increase your grip strength, I think immediately we have solved a lot. Yeah.
Really wish you hadn't, put those 2 together. Uh,
Well, I'm
Woman
not
of
the only one, so
intertwining cousins. I mean, this could be it, as you're saying, but I almost as my grandma used to say, I
yes.
dasn't think.
Oh,
This I know, some
just
like she just created a whole new verb, dassing and dassenting. But I dasn't think what you'll come up with next if we could be more time to link grip strength and sex
mhm.
bots.
Yeah, just try me. Yeah, but to answer your question, have we solved things? I think we have very aptly opened the worm can, and now we get to watch them slither around, and it's just fascinating because 'cause we'll just keep talking about them. Does
Yeah. Well, that was going to be my cheeky answer as well.
Yeah?
That again, a lot of this stuff takes time. It's hard to feel confident in it. So I kind of feel our job as showing what
Hmm.
that looks like over time, right? And
Mm,
and giving people enough touch points that they can start to feel confident
mhm.
grabbing those worms, sticking them back in, or
Right,
think, saying, "Why do I have so many worms in the first place?
right, and
You
they
can
don't have to
reuse
go
the
back in the
worm."
can. We could do other things with them,
Yeah.
but what I am hearing, though, is that it is worth it to continue on the mission of finding the purpose, because
Yes.
it's worth it not just because we will live longer and better with better sleep and stronger fingers, but we will also, benefit from a greater sense of, well, like, happiness? Like, it's
Yeah.
worth it. So we don't wanna stick with the program even though it means it's pesky and awkward, and we'd sometimes rather just not play the game.
Yep. We're happier. We have less mental illness, better health. People like us more. We're nicer. We're actually rated as being more fun.
Do we have better hair?
Well, I mean, Jodi, we don't have time to get into hair.
Okay,
You don't have time to get into hair. That's its own episode later on. So in terms of why do people feel a pressure to feel purpose, we could easily summarize by saying that there's been a lot of consumerism around it, right? Like there's a lot of like people saying like there's a program, this variable is really important to you. The volume keeps getting turned up to get people's attention. So we feel like we're missing out on something. We can say that the modern world has its own unique, mysterious, horrifying logic to it that makes purpose harder. And we can also say that once you start thinking about it, it can be hard unless you've done other types of work. It can be hard to feel confident in your answers if people keep bugging you about it. So it's those 3 reasons. And you're not alone if you're in this process, wondering what purpose is, because we're here too. And, we'll keep talking about it.
And with that, I really think this could be it. Next time we're going to talk a little bit more about dying. Does that sound lovely?
Could be it. If I wasn't such a disaster, I'd have my cool mug, but I'm a disaster today.
It's fine. We're working on purpose. You can only do so much at once.
Thanks so much.
Enjoy your yacht polo.
Yacht polo. Sweeping the nation. Welcome to This Could Have Been It if Mike had his shit together.